Hi everybody, hope you're well. Mike here again, and today I'm just going to talk about Ronroco by Gustavo Santaolalla, the Ronroco instrument that I made in collaboration with Spitfire Audio and with the legendary Gustavo Santaolalla. And I've had a few requests, nice comments about the trailer music that was used. So I thought I'd just sort of take you through that, the process of making it, how I collaborated with Gustavo on it, and taking you from how the instrument I made really inspired me to create the theme. So as you can see, this is the instrument itself in Kontakt, which is in a Logic project at the moment. And I knew I had to create something that was going to be impactful, memorable, and sort of like sum up the sound of the Ronroco and the typical way Gustavo plays it. And he does it in these kind of arpeggios. Now, the great thing about this, if you haven't seen it, is the blue keys here. They control the strings. If you haven't seen the walkthrough video I did at Spitfire Audio HQ, have a look at that. But what I did in terms of this trailer is I got going on a kind of a B minor arpeggio pattern, which is, again, very typical of Gustavo to play like the thumb and two fingers circling around. And then I just thought of this melody kind of. So that was the general gist. I really liked the melody. I took it to Gustavo and he loved the music, but he had the feedback that it was all a bit high, so it sounded a bit like a charango. So what it is I took it down from this B minor to an E minor. And if I just shut this Ronroco now, so here it is in Logic, the trailer music that was used in the trailer. And as you'll hear, it's in the key of E minor. And let's just play it, and I'll take you through it, and then we'll discuss it a bit further. So what I'll do now is I'll discuss how I created these Ronroco parts, and also the supplementary tracks, and maybe a bit of mixing, and also how the music should work in the context of the trailer with Gustavo's voiceover. As you can see at the top, we have Gustavo's voiceover track. If I solo this.
My name is Gustavo Santaolalla.
And this is what I got.
Music has always been more than sound for me. It's been a path, a way to travel across the landscapes of the soul.
And
My music.
I had to shape the music around this voiceover. So this is the way it's different every time, but I didn't have any visuals for this particular trailer. It was just Gustavo's voiceover. So if I just show you quickly just an example of when this impact happens. So it's a bit of a dramatic pause, and it was kind of split up a bit like this.
And then there is the Ronroco. This small
and it worked really well. And then the rest of the trailer goes with that towards the end, and it fits nicely with what he's saying. But you always have to consider the vocals and stuff. So starting with the music, let's look at the main Ronroco itself. And as you can see here, there's an audio version of the Ronroco and a MIDI version. So what I always do is I bounce the MIDI to audio within the project. It's just so you can be sure that there aren't any unpredictable things, and also you can bounce 2 or 3 takes and comp, just choose the best bits of each one. I'd always do that with all my guitars and all my Ronrocos, and any virtual instrument. I will bounce down a couple of takes, audio takes, and then comp them together. So if I just solo all the Ronrocos, there's a whole orchestra of them. And they really sound great. They've all got their own space in the stereo field. So if we just see here these arpeggios, that one's pretty much to the left, slightly to the right. And we have chords as well, just to give it a bit of percussive oomph. If I just go back here, I did record a real guitar, so you could say I cheated a bit. So the acoustic guitar's to the left, Ronroco. But it sounds pretty good. It's fantastic for strumming. Just to show you about that, if I load up the Ronroco, the strumming chords version, and then I play one of these yellow keys, I get downs and ups. I can control the strum speed with the mod wheel. Okay, so let's go into a little bit more detail about how I program these Ronrocos. Let's start with the main Ronroco. You can see from the MIDI here that an arpeggio is starting off, and these are the blue keys, like I mentioned. So you just can really quickly get some arpeggios going with that. And here you can see the melody comes in over the top. Notice how I omit the first note of every arpeggio and put the melody instead, and that's exactly how you would play it on the Ronroco. Just, you don't want to complicate things. You just have nice arpeggios, one note at a time. So that's the melody, which is the purple keys area. And this is the great thing about this instrument, is you can combine. So if I just play it, how are we going? And then I play a top bit E and carry on. And you can really easily play it in real time as well. By the way, here you can see the sustain menu shows chords. You can sustain automatically notes or both as well, or none. But there's a reason why I just use chords. Chords as in being chord notes, these arpeggios, as well as the yellow key strums. I don't need to hold them down to sustain them. But with the purple keys, I do. And there's a reason for this, because when we have these gaps here, they're very, very important, like I always say. So if you listen closely, you can hear the stops. If I were to connect them all, they would not sound as realistic. There was a bit of a gap there, but you can hear there, it just sounds too connected. So as a guitarist, as a Ronroco player, you wouldn't be so perfect with your connections. You need these kind of little gaps to shift notes. As a guitarist, you really want to make use of open string notes, which are basically ready-made pedal notes that you can access at any time. And so this is what creates these really beautiful chords. The chord I've held down is actually a sus. So if I put down the set chord key, put a D sus4 down, Just creates another kind of suspended kind of feel. You hear that? So again, more chord changes, and we have twiddles. Whilst that is held down, it will twiddle. So we've got some more chord changes. So then when everything comes in, you can see the notes, you can see the velocity. I just turned all the notes up a bit in terms of velocity, a bit loud, a bit stronger. But again, very similar, combining the blue arpeggio keys with melody and ensuring that there's gaps in the melody. And that's basically how the whole part was done. Again, various articulation switches. Well, I'm just going to play the end section and solo the Ronroco so we can hear what these articulations are doing. Slide, twiddle, slide, twiddle. Yeah, they're slides and twiddles, and slides up and slides down depending on the direction the notes are going. Very important, these in-betweeny moments, squeaks, gaps, slides. If you've got, you didn't hear it that well there, but if you've got a long note, you might generally have a vibrato. This is the vibrato key switch. I'll just play this. Yeah, you can hear it. It's just the delay and the reverb is sort of mashing it up a bit. Okay, so here we are with the chords Ronroco part, and this is just a little bit different, so I thought it'd be useful to go through this one as well. The way I've programmed this is, if I just play it for a minute and solo it. You know what? I'm just going to center it for you. So like I say, I chopped off a lot of the lower end mids. And again, you can hear, you can turn the fret noise up a bit. That's better. So every time it changes chord, which are these simple, we don't even need triads, you just need the root and the third or fifth and the seventh if you're going to go with that, or sus 4/2. So here we have set it as obviously E minor, downs and ups. I've made some soft acoustic guitar videos explaining about how to program strum patterns. You might want to check that out. And we sort of emphasize the first beat slightly stronger. You can see the velocity. The in-between up strums are a bit softer than the down strums, and then it creates a nice realistic feel. It's all about the feel. Anything too great with the feel, you see that might be a bit too big. It can start to sound like too much of a jump up or down. So the way you can do it is in Calibrate, you can turn up the dynamic range even more. So this is basically squashing it. So at the lowest, it's the most dynamic. At the highest, it is upwards compressed so that the quiet notes sound almost as loud as the loud notes. Whereas if I put this all the way down, see the difference. So for strumming parts, I recommend putting dynamic range all the way up. Anyway, so, and then again, we change chord. Now you notice how we don't need the chord selection switch here. And you can see the purple keys are permanently in this kind of color scheme. That's because when I go to the perform and I select the purple keys, chord mode is selected, not note mode. Note mode, you can play normal notes. Chord mode, when I press the purple keys, nothing happens, but what it's doing is it's changing the chord. As you can see up in the top part, it's changing whenever I hold down either a single note, it will just be the major, or if I hold down a triad or more than one note, it'll be the minors and etc. So just a little pointer here, I can really easily start strumming. Change. And you can see it means that you can really easily just put in some real-time patterns, and it's all about real-time performance if you're going to be creative. So as many ways as possible I've tried to make it. possible to play in real time. Anyway, so it basically carries on like that, chugging away with the acoustic guitar. Goes a little loud here. And here at the bottom you can see the strum speed. Oh, it's a bit of a weird change there. Doesn't matter because it's in the context of the mix. Slowing down the strums beautifully. And at the top we have some percussion, which is just addictive drums, which sounds pretty good. Although if I have time, I would always use real drums. I've got some in the corner here. A real bass guitar. And we have a piano to emphasize the chords, just suits the style of it, just to give a bit of accent. And we've got some cymbal swells here. And there you go, it all adds up. At the bottom we have some lovely Appassionata strings. And finally we have PVC pipes, which are Gustavo's own. In terms of mixing, to make it all balanced, obviously that's a thing in itself. I will be doing some videos on mixing close mic'd acoustic instruments very soon, so stay in touch for that. But if we look at I actually mixed it using the MIDI version of this main Ronroco, so we'll have a look at that now. Bit of Pro Q3. Now this is just to control the mid-range. You want to do that with close mic'd acoustic instruments, in my opinion, because if I turn it on, you've got all these resonances. What you get when you close mic the instruments, which I'll go into, is just the proximity effect, where things are just far too dynamic. Certainly in this 200 to 400 or 500 area, or even lower, sometimes like 150. For this Ronroco, it's quite a high-pitched instrument, so didn't need to go too low, but there's quite a good chunk it's just controlling. And then some general compression on that, just to flatten it a bit more. Soothe, my secret ingredient, not so secret because everyone's using it probably, but it's fantastic. What it does, it just deharshes things and controls frequencies. It's not doing very much. If I turn it right up, it starts to suck the life out of it, but it just sort of just cleans things up, makes things sound shinier and just more pleasant, really. And I do similar treatments on all the Ronrocos, but just to show another one, chords. Now, this is an example of how to fit into the mix. I don't need all this muddy low end. I just want the percussive sound of the chords. So I've really cut out a lot of that sort of low and mids and even upper mids, and just let it bring out the percussive side of the track, so you can hear it just on the top. Aside from that, we have the Pro Q3, just a little more control in the mid-range and a bit of percussion. Set on, this is the drums setting, so again that's a very percussive style of compression, just really clamping down on the transients. And Appassionata strings, they're absolutely fantastic. If I just play you the end section. So they've got fantastic expression and richness and smoothness. Beautiful. And with a pad, it just gives it a little bit of lovely warmth at the bottom of the mids. And then there's Polaris, which I love this. It's kind of a synth slash orchestral thing. And here I've used it as a kind of ambiguous synthy orchestral thing. Just the top end, you see the EQ, everything else has its place. So there's nothing going on below 1K. And it just gives it that bit of sparkle at the top. But that's absolutely fantastic instrument. I thoroughly recommend that. So that's the end of the walkthrough. Hope you've enjoyed that, and do let me know if you'd like me to go into further detail with any kind of aspects of production or mixing in general. I do have plans, but it's always good to get people's feedback. And thanks again to Spitfire for having me involved in this amazing project. It's been great working with Gustavo, and he's a fantastic, lovely guy as well. Yeah, all the best. See you soon. Bye.